Howdy everybody, and thank you for tuning in for another random game reviews where my name is Tasty and today we're going to look at Unexplored, the Unlocked Edition. But before we can do that, let's go ahead and start the show. Alright, like I said, thank you for tuning in for another random game reviews where I'm Tasty and we're going over the Unexplored, but real fast, we're going to talk about just a couple things. One is we're going to split up the Let's Play and the game review from their own separate videos, so that way if the Let's Plays do get some more views and some people want to see me play that more, I'll start a series off of those. But today is all about the review, where we're going to chunk that up into three separate parts of the gameplay, the actual sound and looks, and the story, and whether or not, it's, something's there or whatnot. But today, like we do with everything, is we're going to give it a random ranking. We're going to go through each section and give each section its own ranking, and then do the average of them at the end. And today, we are going to use surprised chicken. So we're going to show that as each one of the scores to let you know what each section gets. And like I said, today we're going to be taking a look at Unexplored, the Unlocked Edition. So without, rambling any further, let's go ahead and just jump on into the store page. Alright, as you can see, we're here at the store page for Unexplored. It's not too much. Here it is. If you want to pause it, read that, you can. If you want to pause that, read that, you can. Here's the specifics. Here's a little bit more of information. There's the ranking stuff, and here's some pictures of it. You can see it's just a nice little over top view dungeon crawler here. So let's go ahead and dive into the game itself and talk a little bit about the actual gameplay. Going over the actual gameplay portion here for us, so let me scroll back down my notes here. I play a little bit of this game. Like I said, I'll post the 20 minutes later, and if you want to see me play a little bit more and it sounds interesting, hit the like button on that and leave a comment in that video. But as far as this, so Unexplored is based off of procedurally generated dungeons. As you can see, it says a new dungeon floor was just generated. So as you're playing, just new floors keep generating as you're moving on. Your little guy here, it has a, kind of two-prong attack controls, where like the right side here will control the primary, and the left side will control the secondary weapons, where I can throw it and pick it up, or I can charge with my primary. And it sounds like that would be okay in a game like this, but it just seems poorly executed as far as this goes. It was a little jarring to pick up and, to actually use as far as the fighting combat goes. And I still get hit every so often. I'm not the greatest as far as like playing games and that kind of stuff goes, but early on I usually I can get a good feel of how I'm supposed to go and get a good rhythm of it, and I just couldn't ever find a rhythm with the controls that worked for me. Somebody else might be able to, but for me, I found it a little confusing, a little jarring as far as the actual fighting goes. Another thing that I found a little jarring as far as the gameplay goes is, on the right hand side you have all your items and that kind of thing, but the game requires you to complete certain puzzles and to go through to unlock certain doors, to get a little bit further in the dungeon, to get better stuff, to fight better monsters, that kind of thing. But it's not very clear on where to place some of those items and how to place them on there, whereas like you can see it says X to move item, but if I hit X and were to go over and it A was to use it or anything, it's not going to move it as it's selected to move. It's just going to let it stop. I think one of the things is I think A or X would be perfect for, especially in like this situation where I'm playing on a GameCube controller. X is way up here and kind of out of the way, so if I can press X and then A, it makes it a little bit easier. Now that's my preference with playing with it, so that is a little bit on me as far as that goes, but it is something to keep in mind when developing a game, how everybody is going to actually play your game as far as that goes here. And there you go, another floor generated waiting for me. But with all of that, I do want to say that I do love it when I see developers trying new things in games like this and putting their own spin on a new genre. So overall, I have to give this, because it's so confusing and a little lackluster as far as the actual combat and placing items goes, and the puzzles and that kind of stuff. It's going to get a 1 as far as the ranking for this section goes. So that's out of the way. It's not looking good for the first part. Let's go ahead and move a little bit past it to the actual sound and looks of the game. Now that we've properly pooped all over the gameplay, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be seeing and hearing whenever playing Unexplored. As far as the sound goes for the game, it is a little okay. It's not the best kind of quality I've heard like that. Like, I feel like my sword shouldn't make a swooshing sound. It should make a cling, cling, like a sword or metal hitting metal or metal flying through the air. It just kind of sounds like somebody took a fan and waved it in front of me. So the generic walking sounds, so the actual sword sounds and the weapons hitting each other just don't really match up with the actual gameplay, as well as the music is just kind of, you know, lackluster in the background, where some games, you know, put the music for the tone to kind of set the rest of the tone of the level. So I'd like to see them use that a little bit more. When it comes to the looks, I'm okay with overlooking bad graphics in a game. Like, if a game does not have good graphics, that is perfectly okay. But you do have to have two other qualities to it. A great story is one of them, and actually good gameplay. Whereas this is lacking in gameplay, and we'll get to the story later on. This, you know, we then have to take it for its merit on the actual looks, which is not very good. It's limited customization as far as it goes to, like, creating your character, because you only have, you know, the little pointy thing, there's a little round head, you can change all those colors, but it still leaves you, you know, whereas some other games, even with the basic stuff like Stardew Valley, for instance, that is a basic looking game and looks like it came right out of the 1980s or 1990s. This game is kind of in that same realm when it comes to graphics wise, where Stardew Valley makes every character and everything kind of feel its own. This just feels like I'm doing the same thing over and over again, or this is, you know, built for like one particular thing versus like a wide range of people to play with. So it's not looking good for the sounds or the looks of the game either, because we have to give it another ranking for this, so that way we can give it an overall average at the end, and it's going to get another 1. So, not so good so far. I guess it's time to just move on to the story, and we'll talk a little bit about that here. Alright, so as far as the story goes, it's not really there. The game is more focused on you getting through the dungeon levels, and, you know, versus telling you a narrative story, which is fine. Like I said, I'm okay with a game lacking certain aspects of, you know, even going through this if it's not so great in looks or gameplay. Maybe the story is really good, but this just isn't there. It makes it feel like it's just really made for speed running through it and trying to complete it as fast as possible, which is fine. I'm okay for that, but again, you got to give me something a little bit, you know, better to work with as far as gameplay and, you know, sound and looks go. So if you're gonna make something that, you know, doesn't look so great, you gotta give it some good gameplay or replayability to it, which I just don't feel like this game has as far as that stuff goes. It's okay, you know, I'm alright with it, but it's not something that I would recommend to go through if somebody is very story driven. Like, if you like games like Final Fantasy VII or Kingdom Hearts or Hyrule or like Zelda games, this just isn't gonna be your cup of tea. But if you like games that give you that, like Sonic the Hedgehog, but not as great, this might be good for you. But I think, you know, we're going to go ahead and just wrap that up, because I don't want to crap all over a video game, because some, you know, people make these and they put their all into them. So I'm going to give this one last ranking here, and then we'll shoot on over to the closing and talk about that a little bit more on the couch here. So it's going to get another 1. So if you guys know anything about averages, doesn't seem very well for it overall. So let's go ahead and jump to the closing. So as you can tell, overall this game did not do well, which is sad because I spent my hard-earned money on this game, and only for me to regret my purchase later on, which I do love dungeon crawler games like Diablo or Titan Quest or even Endless Dungeons or anything along those lines, but I really, with this one I found it hard to enjoy it. It was confusing to start with, it didn't look great, and it did leave one wanting more on the ears. So if I had to recommend this game for somebody, I would say it would be for a 6 or 5-year-old that you're going to sit there and play with the entire time, because like I said, it's confusing as all get up as far as the controls go, laying down stuff for puzzles, and it doesn't look too great. It would be great for the vein of a 5 or 6-year-old that doesn't have a lot of reference for other games in this type of genre. And it's not great overall for the ranking on this game, because as you can tell, all 3 sections got an average of 1, and if you take 3, divide it by 3, that gives you 1, and that is the average for today's video game, is 1 surprise chicken. So I think I'm going to go back to playing something that I really enjoyed, like Cadence of Hyrule, and running through that a 3rd or 4th time, because it is a great game, sounds great, looks good, and has Zelda. All 3 things that I ask for out of any video game. Well, that's our show for today. I hope you guys did like the new format. If you did, go ahead and leave that down, hit the like button, let me know that you did. And also, I did talk to 10 Harvard professors, and 9 of them did confirm that if you're hitting the like button and not hitting the subscribe button, that's a crazy person. So don't be crazy, hit the subscribe button if you're hitting that like button. And with all that said, my name is Tasty, and remember, I poop my pants.